missing my friends and colleagues from those days. The Tupacs, the Easy E's, uh, the Greg G's. It's like, what is going on? Why are all these people gone too soon? Rest in peace, Pac. We've got a great conversation looking forward to coming up this hour. Want to invite you, if you were not here, first. First hour with Dr. Melina Abdullah. You can catch it wherever you get your podcasts. Always, our podcasts are everywhere and they're always free. And we've had some really interesting conversations lately. You can also find them on YouTube. They live on YouTube and they're always free. It's KBLA 1580 on YouTube for that matter. If you missed the first hour, though, there's a community safety workshop going on the 16th on Sunday, which is going to be free to the public from 4 to 6, learning about self-defense and different kinds of techniques to keep you safe in tough times, in times where the people who suffer from the delusion of white supremacy are feeling emboldened. This is at the Black Lives Matter Center for Black Power, 3423 West 43rd Street in Los Angeles, right by, if you know LA, it's right by the Leimert Park stop of the metro station, the building owned by BLM LA. And you are, one and all, are invited. Get more info at blmgrassroots.org. We are really, for whatever reason, the way the cards fell this week, looking at what is going on in our prison systems, the locally programs. We talked yesterday about the truth, the truth behind the actual firefighters, those imprisoned persons that we saw fighting fires that actually really got the public's attention during the crisis that we had here. And now we see a lot of moves happening on the federal level that are likely to impact our day-to-day reality for people who are imprisoned and those who are their loved ones, those who are caring about them and for them. At one point in my life, I had a little brother who was incarcerated, and just, the way that you worry about folks and the way that the changing politics becomes more personal than just rhetorical in that situation is something I'm sure this man can address. He's the executive director of the Anti Recidivism Coalition. Before that, he was director of Inside programs and a former life prisoner himself. He created something called Hope and Redemption Team, which was a first of its kind initiative, which was a group of 9 former California life prisoners who go back to state prisons to provide hope and paths towards redemption. Sam Lewis, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Can I just say, first of all, 15A K-Day back in my day.
Right.
So I literally grew up blocks from here on 3rd Ave and 48th. So all of this is my
This is your
grounds.
community.
This is my community.
But this is now black owned.
That's what I'm loving about it.
Yeah, this is now black owned, black talk, blackety black all day, cover to cover. So welcome home.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Let's start with the basics. For those who don't know, you have your ARC hat on. What is the Anti Recidivism Coalition?
The Anti Recidivism Coalition is a community-based organization that does criminal justice reform in 3 areas. Policy, so we've changed 36 pieces of legislation in the state of California, including Miranda rights for juveniles or people under the age of 18. We ended life without the possibility of parole for juveniles and a plethora of other laws throughout the state. The second area we work in is rehabilitative programs inside. You mentioned the Hope and Redemption Team, which is now statewide in every single prison. So those are careers for former life prisoners who go inside and run rehabilitative programs. But the greater piece of it is, imagine a person who served a life sentence walking inside in a suit, demonstrating, one, that redemption is possible and giving hope to so many thousands of people inside. And then the third area we work in is reentry. We've placed now over 300 people into our building trades in LA and Orange County. We've expanded to Sacramento, and we've expanded to the Inland Empire. We also have the firefighter program, which has really been highlighted after the tragedies in both Altadena and Palisades. We also have pathways into the Hollywood unions and a number of other different things. But those are the three areas: reentry, rehabilitative programming inside, and policy.
What does it look like for a nonprofit to advocate for policy? I know you guys, you have all these rules about what you can and cannot say and what you can and cannot do. But when you're advocating for policy, you're talking about taking a position and urging lawmakers to take action around that position.
So we base it on our lived experience. And so if you can imagine, I'll use me as an example. I went in to the prison system when I was a teenager. When I went in, everything that was if you were what we call a youthful offender, I don't like the term offender, but that's the title of it. Being underage was held against you. Not being in the military was held against you. Not being able to be a college graduate or be in a long-term relationships. But teenagers are young. And so 3 of the laws we passed was to change that from being held against you to actually being held in your favor, because the brain science that is recognized now shows that young people have the ability to change. And so when we go to advocate with lawmakers, we put them in proximity to people who have been incarcerated. My lived experience tells you that I can change. I've been home now 13 years. My body of work clearly demonstrates what's capable of not just me, but anyone given the opportunity and resources while they're inside and up on release.
How does a lifer get out?
Wow, it's I'm not going to say it's easier. We just received a study. California lags behind every single state in finding of suitability for life prisoners. And so how do you get out? You go before the board of parole hearings, which are commissioners that are selected by the governor and confirmed by the Senate. And then they have civil servants who are deputy commissioners. And when you go before them, they consider your commitment offense, the crime that sent you to prison, everything that happened before the crime, if there were other commitment offenses, things that you did in the community, graduated high school, and then they consider what you've been doing in prison. For instance, while I was incarcerated, I finished 2 associate's degrees and my bachelor's degree, a handful of trades, and was involved in a lot of positive pro-social activities while inside. They consider all of those things. You also go before what they call a forensic psychologist that does an assessment to determine your threat to public safety. The board will consider all of those things and how you present before them. And so if you can demonstrate insight into what made you make the choices that you made when you were younger, and that you won't, more than likely, you won't commit those bad choices again, the board would normally find you suitable. However, or they should normally find you suitable. I think grant rates for parole are about maybe 20%. I think it's 20% right now in the state of California.
So it is possible. It's part of the system. Jacqueline Anderson, who is one of the regular members of our YouTube collective and in chat, says that her older brother died in Soledad in 2023. Jerome C. Anderson, I'm sorry. Sorry for that.
Terribly sorry.
Yeah. But that brings me to kind of where I started. What role do families play? The families of those who are locked up in all of these areas, policy, reentry, rehab, what role do the loved ones play? Families
play an extremely important role. One, the encouragement and support while a person's incarcerated. My mom, who's 86 now, she was my rock. She's still my rock. Like wisdom, when I was doing stuff I shouldn't be doing, she would tell me to get my stuff together. And she told me, you can come home. You're not meant to be there. You're bigger than that. And then when I was released, making sure that I had some level of support. My family was there for me. my wife, my daughter. My daughter was the reason why I turned my life around. My sisters, and those are vitally important pieces for both while you're incarcerated and your reentry, but they're also important for policy. Every single person in the state of California has a vote. You have people who represent you. When there's a bill that says we can end something like life without the possibility of parole, you call your legislator. Your assembly, everybody has a senator and an assembly person, a state assembly member and a senator. Call him. I support this bill. I want to see this bill passed. I'm your constituent. The power of the vote, I don't think people understand how powerful it is. And when you call and you tell your representative that you support this, whether they're a Republican or Democrat, they will support that legislation. And so that's another piece. And then being aware of the changes within our correction system or our carceral system. You have the power to call your representative. If people are being mistreated, if things are happening and you can't get an answer from inside, you have a representative that can go into that prison and check on your loved ones. Or they can send a representative. You have field officers. There's so much power to a telephone call and an email. And so when we look at families play a vital role in, one, making sure that our people that are incarcerated pursue rehabilitative programming, and two, have a pathway home.
Talking with Sam Lewis. He's the executive director of the Anti Recidivism Coalition. You're welcome to get into the conversation at 800-920-1580. It's only right here. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
They can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips, I am a revolutionary.
On Saturday, February 22nd, you are invited to A Night with the Panthers, a special fundraiser dedicated to supporting Black Panther veterans who now require assistance with essential needs such as medicine, food, and housing. These Black Panther veterans championed human rights, fed the hungry, educated the community, and stood as powerful symbols of resistance and resilience. Despite their incredible sacrifices, loving and serving the people did not come with retirement plans or financial security. So, now it's our time to honor their legacy and ensure that they are cared for with the dignity they deserve. You can help by attending and supporting A Night with the Panthers, Saturday, February 22nd, 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Project 43 Team Post Center, 6841 Crenshaw Boulevard, Los Angeles. For more information, contact Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. That's Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up Oscar!
I have a dream today.
From slavery and segregation to the Great Migration to our present-day rising, the Black experience in America is a story of resilience, achievement, and unstoppable spirit. This February, we're curating amazing conversations celebrating the heroes, the pioneers, and the everyday people who made history. Black History Month on KBLA Talk 1580. Together, we carry the torch forward.
Taxes was taxing. Now taxes is relaxing when you file for free.
I can file for free? TurboTax Free Edition. Roughly 37% of filers qualify. Simple Form 1040 returns only. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free. I can file for free.
Now this is taxes. File for free with TurboTax Free Edition and get your maximum refund. No schedules except for earned income tax credit, child tax credit, and student loan interest. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
We're talking with Sam Lewis, Executive Director of the Anti Recidivism Coalition. Recidivism is one of those words we hear a lot, but it really just means the prison revolving door, right?
Correct.
And your aim is to stop that. I feel like in California, and we were talking about this with Doug Bond from Amity. In California, we've and especially in LA County, we've taken this care first approach, really starting to work more on rehabilitative measures than just to lock them up, throw away the key, carceral approach. That seems to be facing a backlash. You know, we were not able to pass Prop 6. We do have a new district attorney here in LA County who is clearly more of a conservative. We have a new administration in the White House. What does that mean for alternatives to incarceration or pathways to rehabilitation that you were talking about?
We don't stop. I feel as though, and I believe like Prop 6, I think the public just wasn't educated about Prop 6.
Prop 6 to enforce labor.
Correct. But
in prisons.
It enforced labor, but Prop 6, if we look across the country, places like Alabama passed the same, in the exception rule. So Prop 6 was really, if we really broke it down to Californians, it's a moral question. Do you or don't you believe in slavery? Because the exception rule is in our federal constitution. Slavery is hereby abolished except for. Slavery should just be abolished, period. But it was connected to criminal justice reform, and it became this whole thing about working in prison. It's bigger than that. As a country, as a state, do we believe that slavery is okay? And if we don't morally, then we should say, no, it shouldn't be in our constitution. It shouldn't be in our state constitution. It shouldn't be in our federal constitution. In terms of rehabilitative programming, across the board, the polls still show that people believe in rehabilitative programming. What I would categorize with Prop 36, the hijacking of language, saying that people needed treatment, that's correct, but it was an unfunded mandate. And so what happens when I campaigned strongly against Prop 36. If a person is arrested today and you go to court and they say, okay, you have to have treatment, we don't have enough treatment beds. So eventually that person is going to violate the court order because there are not enough treatment beds. And there was no funding connected to Prop 36. If we also look at the trends, and I know people don't feel safe because of this media sensationalization of so many things that happen. Notice how much has went away from the media suddenly. It's not because crime suddenly stopped. It's because media stopped replaying old videos. The fact is, crime is still down across the board. The fact is, if you really want to look at our prison system, here's what we need. We need more rehabilitative programming. When a person goes into prison, there's some things that they may need to work on. I had to work on I had gang issues. I was a dope dealer. I was all of those things. I had anger issues. I did not finish high school. I addressed every single one of those issues, not because of what was available inside the prison system at that time, but despite it, because I had a family that helped me. Now those programs are available. We need to make sure that those programs, along with vocational programs and pathways to careers, not a job, a career when a person is released from incarceration.
And I know you're a nonprofit. You can only talk politics so much, but so let's put it in terms of perception. I know a lot of young men, or a few young men, who are either formerly incarcerated or they have friends that are incarcerated or potentially incarcerated, gang members, people that are affiliated with certain neighborhoods, that really felt like this Republican administration, this new MAGA administration, was going to do better by incarcerated folks. Like, maybe because of the Lil Wayne pardon, maybe because of Kodak Black, maybe because of the First Step Act, which, although it originated under the Obama administration, President Trump in his first term did sign that, and some folks did get out. So how do you perceive how do you see that mentality? And a lot of these young men that I'm talking about, they're still under the perception that things are going to be better for those who are incarcerated in this new administration. How do you perceive that, and what do we need to do? If that is true, what do we need to do to make sure it's so?
First, I think it's an incorrect perception. The federal administration only has oversight over the federal prison system, which is about maybe 100,000, 120,000 people. I could be a little bit low on that. That's it for the federal system. California has about 95,000 people, just California. Then you have Texas that's got maybe 133,000, and then Florida's got 100 and something odd thousand. Those are the big three. Each one of those states determine what's available.
Texas, California, and Florida are the big three.
Those are the big three. And then you have the federal system that covers federal crimes. The administration has no say-so over how our state facilities are ran here in the state of California. That's our governor, Governor Newsom. And so when we look at the changes that have happened in the past 10 years, we've closed 5 prisons. We went from 178,000 people in prison to about 95,000. We've increased rehabilitative programming at least tenfold. That's not any of the administrations. That's Governor Brown and Governor Newsom. And so when we're looking at it for the people within states, that's where the power comes from for change.
Two things about that. Number one, federal funding does play a role, does it not, in those rehabilitative programs?
Absolutely. Federal funding does play a role in what you could describe as, I describe it as braided funding. So, for instance, our Hope and Redemption team is funded from the general fund of the state of California. So none of that comes from federal funding. So there are grants and funding that comes from the federal government, from the Department of Justice, that allows certain programming throughout the state of California and the county of Los Angeles, like our Credible Messenger program in LA County. That comes from both federal grants and money from the county of Los Angeles. So the closure of the Department of Juvenile Justice, or what they call it, readjustment, the Juvenile Justice Realignment Block Grants.
We only have a minute and a half here till news, traffic, and sports. But the follow-up question to that is, with all of this immigration activity, the raids, and the mass detention of undocumented persons and people seeking refugee status, are those prisons going to be reactivated under federal jurisdiction through ICE, or will new facilities be constructed?
I don't think they'd be able to reactivate our state facilities. That, again, falls under our state government. I don't think Governor Newsom would allow that. I can't speak for him, but I don't think he would. In terms of, they're actually going to be building along the border more detention centers to hold immigrants. I will say this, and at the risk of getting in trouble for this, our country is a country of immigrants. What difference does it make what race they are? This is a country of immigrants. If we go back to Ellis
Except
Island,
for the black people.
the blacks and the natives,
yeah.
Like if you think about it, go to Ellis Island, read your history. One of the things I always tell our young people is read your history so you really understand what's being said to you. This is supposed to be a place, a melting pot. The country that I grew up with, and this is looking at it from a kid through rose-colored glasses, I thought this was an inclusive country that supported and help people that needed help. I don't live in that country anymore. I don't know what kind of country I live in now.
Yeah, we're talking with Sam Lewis, and you're invited into the conversation looking at the state of what he does, which is trying to help folks rehabilitate, re-enter, and create the policies that support that work. We are KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The Senate is set to vote today on confirming Tulsi Gabbard as the new Director of National Intelligence. Gabbard, a former Hawaii Congresswoman who ran for president as a Democrat in 2020, later endorsed Donald Trump. Kanye West's website is offline after attempting to sell a swastika shirt. Shopify removed his store for violating terms, and his X account was deactivated due to anti-Semitic posts. Coca-Cola plans to use more plastic bottles if aluminum tariffs take effect next month. CEO James Quincy cited affordability as the main reason, noting the packaging is a small part of their total cost. And flu cases are surging nationwide due to a new strain, with the CDC estimating 24 million cases this season. This has resulted in 310,000 hospitalizations and 13,000 deaths, including 57 children. I'm Bree Wood on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers and Clippers are back in action tonight. The Lakers are in Utah with a 6-game winning streak. The Clippers are at home against Memphis at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. The Lakers and Clippers made roster moves that could have a significant impact on their season. The Lakers signed center Alex Len, a 12-year veteran, to back up Jackson Hayes. Len has been with 5 teams. Replacing the production of Anthony Davis is going to be a challenge for the Lakers. The Clippers signed 6'9" point guard Ben Simmons. Simmons was the overall #1 pick in the 2016 NBA draft, but he's been a major disappointment the past 3 years. The Clippers are gambling that Simmons will turn his career around here in LA. The Dodgers open their spring training camp today in Phoenix. The Dodgers are trying to become the first team to win back-to-back World Series championships since the Yankees did it in 2000. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I feel so alone.
I'm embarrassed to talk about it.
How can I help my kid if I can't help myself?
I can't remember when I wasn't stressed.
I don't like it
inside.
When you feel overwhelmed by your thoughts and emotions, it's okay to get help. You are not alone. CalHope is here for you with free, safe, and confidential mental health resources for youth, young adults, families, and you. Find support now at calhope.org.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you, neighbor to neighbor, bringing you resources and what you need to know. For information on fire recovery resources, recovery hubs, and available services, call 211 for the City of Los Angeles and 311 county-wide. Aid distribution locations, repopulation updates, and safety rules are constantly changing. Visit the LA City and LA County websites for the latest. If you'd like to sign up for the county's free debris removal, fill out a right of entry form, or get a list of disaster recovery centers that are still active, please visit recovery.lacounty.gov or call the debris hotline at 844-347-3332. If you're vulnerable to mudslides with rain in the forecast, free sandbags are being offered. Go to lacounty.pw/sandbags to find out where to get them. Businesses who have lost their facilities due to the fires can use a regional online source to get free or discounted locations. Whether you're interested in donating or finding space, you can visit the business-to-business Space Share portal at spaceshare.lacounty.gov. Additional LA County small business support and programs can be found at opportunity.lacounty.gov. Praying, advocating, and standing with you. KBLA Talk 1580.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
Sam Lewis is with us. He's the executive director of the Anti Recidivism Coalition. And you started out telling us about 3 areas you focus on: policy, reentry, and rehabilitation. One of the, I think, most troubling things for many of us is the state of our youth offenders, youth incarceration, youth rehabilitation system. You were telling me that you've seen some improvement.
Some improvement, not enough. I will say that. I'm a former probation oversight commissioner. But I also mentor young people that have been in the juvenile system. I've been going into Barry J. Nightoff for about 10 years on the weekends. And this weekend was one of the better weekends where there's been some improvement of what our young people have access to. And so there still needs to be vocational programming. There still needs to be more robust programming. In my opinion, the will to do this just has not been there. The means to do it is there. The money is there. I know my team, we have a team of about 24 credible messengers, formerly incarcerated mentors that go in 40 hours a week. So they're there 7 days a week, 8 hours a day.
So these are folks who've walked the walk, and what are they doing? They're mentoring, they're talking. I mean, how does that interaction go?
So they support the youth in a number of ways. One, supporting them in making sure that they do pay attention in school through mentoring, but they also run multiple evidence-based curriculums that deal with both trauma, substance abuse, life skills, financial literacy, all of the things that our young people need once they're released. And then they create a pathway for them to be released into various housing, including our own. We provide housing for young people that have been in the juvenile system. And then pathways into those careers I previously mentioned, such as the construction trades and things of that nature.
We're always on YouTube. We're live on Instagram right now, just for a little something. So this is benefiting on both ends. You said the credible messengers themselves get jobs, making a difference with young people, and the young people get the mentoring. How do your main mission is keeping people from going back in and back in and back in.
Correct.
What are we getting right? What you mentioned the credible messenger program. What else works?
Opportunities, pathways. So if you can imagine, I have a young man who came home. He was 16 when I first met him. Father was not in the home, struggled with gang things, poverty, and he had a child of his own. And he said when he came home, he wanted to be a carpenter. He came home about 2.5 years ago. He's a carpenter.
Wow.
That pathway for him. And he will tell you that I have 2 cars, I pay all of the bills, and my family is intact and they live with me. This is an example of a young man that had an opportunity. He had to follow the path. We just created the pathway and the opportunity, but he had to get up in the morning. He gets up at 4 a.m. He's on time or he's early. And so those pathways, but also the support of our community. There's an old African proverb: it takes an entire village to raise a child. We need to be aware of that. We need more mentors in the community and more opportunities, real opportunities for our young people that before they hit the system and when they're in the system and they come home, if given the opportunities and resources, I've seen these young people transform their lives.
But it's not a magic wand. It's not just like they get out of prison, we yell at them, and now they go to work. I mean, a lot of times it seems like, from what I know of talking to people throughout the years and reading, is that it's a process of dealing with the trauma, whatever trauma they have, getting those life skills, getting those job skills, and getting to a place where they're ready, right?
Absolutely. And that goes to going back to the brain science. Our young people are going to make mistakes. As long as they're not mistakes that they can't immediately come back from. Breaking curfew is a mistake. Smoking a joint might be a mistake in their job if they're underage. Those are things that can be addressed, but we have to also take into consideration a young person's brain does not fully develop until they're about 26. And so they're going to have some impulse control issues and compound that with trauma. And one of the things that we do to address that, we make sure when they come home, they have access to free therapy with people that look like them, that come from the same background and understand what they've been through.
Morris Phillips wants to know, do the churches play a role with the work that you do?
Absolutely. Probably our biggest supporter right now is Oasis Church. We're actually working on putting together a sports league with them. They've helped mentor with our young people. They've supported us in grants and things of that nature. And every Christmas, they sign Christmas cards that we send in because the holidays are a lonely time inside the facilities.
Yeah, I can imagine. I feel like we're back in a period, not just for the politicians, but for the general public, where there's a lot of people that are going, they did the time, they need to do the crime, people need to do more time. We need to that people feel like the answer is longer sentences and less rehabilitation. And like you addressed it earlier, you said people don't feel safe, but I guess after visiting the fire camp and talking with the kids, and just my lifelong experience, but that particular moment was a reminder. So many of the young people I talked to, because I talked to the youth unit, were really feeling good about themselves because of the work. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is, what is that balance between, where they feel like we're thug huggers and coddling criminals, and being able to really offer true rehabilitation?
Let me preface this with this. I'm not unique. I'm not a unicorn. There are thousands of people just like me that just need an opportunity. I was that young person. I was a gang member in a section right near here, and I was active. I went to prison for murder. I was 100% committed to my gang. That was my belief system at the time. I sold drugs. I destroyed my community. I went to prison for 24 years. I had opportunities later on, not early in my sentence, because there were not a lot of rehabilitative programs available. Later on, I had opportunities. I pursued my education. I worked on changing how I thought, but I had to have the opportunities, the resources for rehabilitation. Look at me now, 13 years out of prison. My record has been expunged, in line for a pardon. Those things are not possible if we don't invest. The other thing, when we talk about long sentences, you get what's called diminishing returns. When a person's in prison, if we make sure that they have resources, rehabilitative programming, there comes a point when they've done so much and they begin to lose hope, and you get diminishing returns. We can look at a person, let's just look at the lifer population to begin with. Over 13,000 lifers have been released in the state of California beginning around 2011. Less than 1% of lifers recidivate in the first year, less than 3% in the third year. What does that say? But those are also the ones that have access, that are encouraged to engage in those rehabilitative programs. The same is possible for our young people, but we have to provide them with the resources to be able to become the best versions of themselves.
And as people who are concerned about public safety, but also very concerned about young people, what should we be tracking outside of prison walls that we could have a positive impact on?
I go back to opportunities. There's so many young people that I talk to that were involved in gangs. And I'll ask them pointed questions. When was the last time you went back to your old neighborhood? I don't have time. I get up at 4 a.m. I'm not going to lose my career. They're getting paid a great paycheck. They have a trade, and they're looking forward to purchasing homes. But they have to have that opportunity. And so if we look at it this way, We enhance public safety by providing them with rehabilitative programming and opportunities to go into careers. Think about the kid who was a gang member, and now when we look at our skyline, these skyscrapers and buildings that are being built, these are those young people. But we have to invest in them and let them know that we believe in them, while being able to hold them accountable when they're in the facilities for whatever they've done, with the goal of reintroducing them back into society to be part of our community.
How do you personally, atone or, spiritually cleanse or undo the harm that you personally did?
Great question. I can't undo the harm. I took a human life. If you steal a car, you can pay restitution. If you burglarize a house, there are things that are property that you can pay back, but you can never pay back a human life. And so for me, one, my strong belief in God and how I live my amends. And so every day I get up, my job is to help people not make the choices that I made. My job is to help more people come home and invest in their communities. My job is to help young people see a future that's unprecedented in their mind and then help them navigate that. If I can touch one life, I've atoned, but I don't want to touch just one life. I want to touch thousands of lives and help people see that there's a different pathway, and we as a community, as a village, can help each other. And so that's how I atone, by living my amends every single day.
Living my amends every day. I love that. We are going to continue the conversation with Sam Lewis of the Anti Recidivism Coalition when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for reentry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop.
Swiffer Power Mop. A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
And we're talking with Sam Lewis. He's the executive director of the Anti Recidivism Coalition, and sharing his journey with us. I appreciate your candor. I guess that's what makes you effective in doing your work, you being able to share your own story. The Anti Recidivism Coalition here in California, which is a huge, as you pointed out, carceral state. It sounds like from what you broke down, we're moving in the right direction, even despite what I would consider some recent setbacks in Prop 36 and Prop 6. And I feel like we're going to be in a time where we're going to see more warehousing and more imprisoning of young people, of poor people, of unhoused people, just given the things that have gone on in the Golden State and have happened in some other states as well. What should we, those of us who are on the outside, what should we be doing?
Definitely, I have to say this, and I said it at the beginning of vote. Vote for people that think like you. So if you want someone who's going to make sure that their rehabilitative program is inside prisons, listen to what they say and ask them before you vote for them. If you want to make sure that young people have pathways to careers, that people in our communities in South LA have pathways to careers. I don't mean a job, I mean a career where you're making $30, $40 an hour. It's training that will allow you to retire at 40, 50, 60 years old. Vote for them and then hold them accountable. If they don't deliver on their promises, vote them out. Your power, your voice is your vote. I've seen it work so effectively. And so we have some true champions on the federal level. We have some true champions on the state level. Because I'm a 501c, I'm representing 501c3. I can't name them, but I can say vote. It is your right. It is your powers. And so know who you're voting for. Hold them accountable, and tell them when you have ideas like emails and telephone calls. They take your constituents. You are a vote, and so when you email or you call, they take those things very seriously.
And what about the whole, you talk about opportunities a lot, and it reminds me of, Greg Boyle when he says nothing beats, a bullet like a job. But has it gotten better for, what's the right term now? We say justice impacted. We're not supposed to say ex-cons or formerly incarcerated, right? It's justice impacted, even though I'm not sure everyone knows what that means. But has it gotten better?
I call myself formerly incarcerated.
You do.
It doesn't. I get to define who I am.
Right.
But my time in prison was part of my lived experience. It's gotten better. Imagine this: we've placed over 300 formerly incarcerated people into the building trades. You're talking about six-figure incomes. People that are electricians making anywhere from $160,000 to $200,000 a year. Carpenters, over 300 like that, and we're just a small nonprofit.
There's a meme going around about, if you want to find former gang members, it's you go to the building trades unions.
Well,
it's going around on Instagram, and I don't think of that as a bad thing, because people have to have jobs, not just jobs, as you said, careers where people can actually thrive. But if I'm the loved one of a person who's coming out of being incarcerated, being in foster care, being system impacted, especially when it comes to prison and jail, because that's what gives people a stigma. What should I do to support that person?
Patience first. The adjustment coming home from incarceration, like I said, I did 24 years. The adjustment, you feel that you're being judged. I felt that way. I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of people that have come home. You feel like people are like watching you. You feel you're trying to find your community, and you just don't feel comfortable when you initially come home. And so for families, what I would say is like, be patient. Understand that when people, especially if they've done a longer term inside systems, there's a level of socialization that transforms how people think. Give them time to adjust. Love them and let them know, like, unconditionally, we're going to support you as long as you're doing the right thing. And guide them.
But do you think it's better for folks to go into some kind of a halfway house or rehabilitative program before they go home?
I think oftentimes that's the best choice, often. But there are those unique people that don't need, I didn't go to transitional housing because they lost my paperwork. But I also know people that have experienced huge success by going through transitional housing. So I would say it's up to the individuals. Oftentimes it's the best choice because you're transitioning out of what I call an abnormal environment. And so I wanted to touch on another thing. Building trades, think about this, the fires. We've placed close to 200 formerly incarcerated people into firefighting careers. So when those fires were blazing in LA County.
And you're not just right now, you're not talking about the ones that are still prisoners. You're talking about the ones that are formerly incarcerated who now have actual jobs as firefighters. So, it was a huge number. I can't remember off the top of my head the percentage of the people fighting the fires that were actually prisoners was a big number. But if you add in the ones that learned those skills in prison and then got those jobs, it's probably much higher.
So it's about 200. So Ventura Training Center, you can Google it. It's led by CAL FIRE, California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, and ARC. People come home from fire camps. They go through this really extensive and intense training, and they have the opportunities to have their record expunged and become firefighters. They were on the lines, putting their lives at risk, formerly incarcerated. And so that's another pathway. To me, firefighters have always been like superheroes. They run to danger. And who doesn't love a firefighter? They climb up the tree and get the cat too. If they save babies, they do all of the things that takes both courage and a commitment to people. And so that's another path. The Hollywood unions are pathways. So lighting.
Can we infiltrate more of those? Because I feel like every production I worked on and every production that I walk by, I don't see very many people of color. Forget about black people.
It's an increasing number of people that are going in. We have a program that puts with a focus on young people coming out of the carceral system. We pay them a stipend when they go into the Hollywood unions. They started, I think, like $35 an hour or something like that. So there is a movement. We just need more people. The requirement is that you maintain a B average, don't test dirty for any substances. We'll pay you a stipend. You can get into that career. And when we say career, again, I always tell young people, you're 19, 20 now. Spend 25 years doing this. At 45, your job is to wake up, check your bank account, and go back to sleep, if that's what you want to do.
We just got about a minute left here. Sam Lewis of the Anti Recidivism Coalition. What do you want to put on people's minds?
Understand that people that are incarcerated, the vast majority of them are not bad people. They've made bad choices or done bad things, but that doesn't make them bad people. Let's remember that they're part of our communities and continue to invest in their opportunities to transform their lives while incarcerated and come home and rejoin us and making our communities better, safer, and whole.
You can go to antirecidivism.org, antirecidivism.org. I know you guys also have an Instagram. If someone is coming out or is transitioning, should they reach out? Can they reach out to you?
Absolutely. You can. We go to our website. You can communicate directly with us. You can call us at the office. Our office number is 213-955-5885. Our front desk assistants will guide you into next steps. We have an office in Sacramento. We have opportunities in the Inland Empire. We're here to help. We want to make our carceral system smaller while continuing to enhance public safety in our communities.
Sam Lewis, thanks for all the work you're doing, and thank you for spending the hour with us.
Thank you, and thank you everyone that listened.
I'm going to quote Jim Brown because that's where I went. The first prison system program that I witnessed, which was Mayor I Can, the decision-making process. It's evaluate. Gosh, I can't even remember the decision-making process. That's all bad, Dominique. Eliminate the negative, establish the facts, and choose your best option. Like my mama used to say, history's now, and we are making it together. Until tomorrow, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The Senate is set to vote today on confirming Tulsi Gabbard as the new Director of National Intelligence. Gabbard, a former Hawaii Congresswoman who ran for president as a Democrat in 2020, later endorsed Donald Trump. Kanye West's website is offline after attempting to sell a swastika shirt. Shopify removed his store for